Running a game store, there's a lot of things you can learn from books, from colleagues, from going to conventions, and of course, tons and tons of on-the-job training. I've tried to help with a series of Game Store 101 to show you some of the things that we do in the background to help make things work and run smoothly. But of course, there are times when you have to go completely off script, where you have things you've never planned for and just have to think on your feet. Now, I want to talk about the current state of the games industry, but I want to talk about the last time I had to throw everything out the window, which was just 5 years ago during the pandemic. 5 years ago today, we were closed. There was a stay-at-home, shelter-in-place order. Businesses were closed across my state. So I was doing nothing and had no idea what the future of Games Unlimited would look like. Of course, I reached out to colleagues. Everyone was in a slightly different situation depending on what their state was doing. But we all had different ideas. But of course, we had to make it up as we went along. Now, what were some of the things that I did? Back then, we didn't have an e-commerce site. The word, we didn't know for sure. There was a lot of instability. But the word was eventually our governor was going to allow e-commerce, curbside pickup sort of things to start to happen. So in anticipation of that, I was like, do I lean into building an e-commerce store? It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of startup. And I didn't know if it was actually going to be something that was allowed. There were just rumors and hearsay. But eventually it was allowed, and we did build the e-commerce store. And that helped us. But I had to make other decisions that I never thought I'd have to make. For example, bringing my staff back in. Who could I afford to bring back in? Actually, this was a case where at the time we had 2 or 3 staff members, one of which was fairly new, didn't qualify for unemployment. So I made the decision after talking to the staff members to allow the one who'd been working longer to stay on unemployment because they were eligible for it, so the other person can come back who wasn't eligible and actually work and make money. That way both of them could have some sort of income. Now, at a certain point, sometimes when there's rampant uncertainty, you kind of either have to go big or go home. And that was a decision that we made a few months later in the middle of the summer of 2020 when we realized that our location was way too small to open back up and effectively social distance. We needed a bigger location. And we decided ultimately to buy the location that we are in now. A huge gamble because, again, we still weren't sure what was going to happen, but it was basically thinking to ourselves, if we don't do this, we may die a slow death. So let's do something big and hope it works out. In that case, it did. But that's often a choice you have to make when you really have very little information with which to plan ahead for the future. So you've got to make some decisions. You've got to be an entrepreneur. You got to make gambles. I'll talk more about what we're planning to do for the current uncertain situation in the next video. I'm Kylie. Go unbox and fly.